Welcome back to another episode of the Middle School Athletic Director Podcast. Again, we are very grateful that you have found us. We got a good one today. It's the second part of our Google Workspace series with Scott Paine. So today we dive in 4 through 6. We did our top 3 Google applications back in episode 23. So please go back and check that out. But today we talk about our second top 3 Google Workspace applications. We also talk a lot more about the Wall of Fame Vital Signs Meet the Podcaster event Sunday night at NADC. So please listen for that. And then towards the end, we actually talk about what to do as a middle school athletic director when you go to a national conference, what to look for, what to do, the things to intake, because again, there's a lot going on. So big jam-packed episode. We hope that you get better by listening today. But before we dive in, here's a word from our sponsors.
Bring your school's legacy to life with the Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Our interactive display highlights your greatest moments and top performers, both past and present, across athletics, academics, and the arts. But it's also so much more. With our one-of-a-kind content program, we help you every step of the way so you can tell more compelling stories that will engage your whole community.
Box Out gives you the ability to create graphics at the speed of sports to highlight your athletic department, teams, and student athletes in seconds. Used and trusted by Notre Dame, Ohio State, UConn, Marquette, Georgetown, and many more of the top college brands in the country. If you want your school's brand to stand out through all the clutter, start your free demo at boxoutsports.com.
This is Game Time. Neptune Game Time creates a high-energy game day atmosphere that your players and fans will love. Every song in our database is 100% lyric safe, which means you can stop screening music for good. Game Time also provides custom messaging to help you promote your upcoming events, concessions, and event-specific announcements. And it gives you the opportunity to sell sponsorships on your station that will generate revenue for your athletic department. Amp up your game day with Game Time.
All right, welcome back to another episode. This is the part 2 episode of the Google Workspace with Mr. Scott Paine. Scott is a 8-year. He was an athletic director for 8 years at the middle school level, high school level, district level. So good wealth of knowledge. But we did a bigger intro with Scott a couple episodes again. So if you want to hear part 1 of this episode on our Google top 3, which was sites, Google Forms, and Google Keep. If you want to hear the top 3 and a great discussion on that, just go back a couple episodes to episode 23, and you will hear a little bit more about Scott and obviously our top 3 Google Apps picks there. So, Scott, I want to welcome you back to the Middle School AD podcast, and thanks for jumping on again.
Freddie, my pleasure. It's a good deal when we roll 2 podcasts almost practically at the same time, to the point where apparently we just don't get enough of each other. So it's not too bad there, but always happy to talk Google. I mean, again, in a couple of weeks, hopefully some of you are listening are going to be joining us in a classroom for 4 hours on a Monday morning.
Oh yeah. Like I said, if you didn't get hooked on that first episode, definitely make sure, because I don't think I hadn't got the most updated numbers yet. And this, we're recording this on November 30th. But I think, a lot of classes are getting close to being full, but they're not full yet. So there's still spaces to jump in with us. And it's a great class. If nothing else, like we've talked about before, you're going to walk out with free, already created stuff, right? Things that took myself, Scott, and the other 2 teachers, instructors, hours to make. You walk out with it and we share it with you. You can use it with your schools and change the colors and all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of fun. 4 hours. I think I mentioned in the first, part, a couple episodes ago, again, is we actually ran out of time last year because there's just so much stuff in it. So we would love to see you on Monday morning, and for that 613 class. Scott, so before we kind of dive into your next three, your top 4 through 6, again, there's hundreds of them, but we're going to try to hit the top 6. We are, and the listeners have heard for the past couple episodes, that we are putting on a Meet the Podcaster event on Sunday night, around 8:15, powered by Vital Signs, who is our main title sponsor, right? And so we'll let Scott kind of give a little more information since he works with them as well. But after he kind of gives a little more information on it, then we'll kind of wrap that up and get into the Google Apps.
Yeah. Hey, Sunday night, December 17th. That's my wedding anniversary. So that's how dedicated I am to this event, y'all. My wedding anniversary night. So December 17th, after everything kind of dies down from the day's stuff, Wall of Fame is hosting, a hospitality room, and it's dedicated to Jake Von Shear's book launch of the All-Star ADs, the inspirational female ADs out of Florida that he did the book on. That's up front, and then it's kind of Meet the Podcasters, and Wall of Fame. We back multiple podcasts in the space for interscholastic athletics, from Jake's Pod, the educational AD, to what Freddie and I do at the AD podcast, to the Paradox with Danielle and Dustin, and then the off-duty ADs, those three guys. And so all of us are going to be in that room, and it's an open invite. The best way to get it, you'll start seeing it coming out across all of our social media platforms, as well as if at all of you've ever received an email from Wall of Fame, whether it's myself, John, Gretchen, or just the company at large, you'll have a link. You need to it's a Calendly link to see where the date is. You'll fill out very brief information. We are not using that information for anything other than communicate to you what room we're in that night. We don't get the suite number until like kind of towards the end of the week of when NADC starts. And so for us, we won't know where we're going. The schedule of events will be laid out, no problem. But the room that we get, we won't know until we get there. And so fill out that link. That also gives us a head count. We're going to have finger food and adult beverages. We're bourbon fans, so there's gonna be some bourbon on tap too for you. But if it's simple pours, that'll be there, and food. And so that if you fill out that link for us, that gives us the head count, so we actually can appropriately get enough food and drinks, so that y'all don't get disappointed when you walk through the door. Obviously you won't be disappointed because Freddie and I will be there with some of our favorite colleagues in the space. But I also understand that some of you at 8:30, 9:30 at night will probably be coming by because you want to drink and some food, and you're probably working the hospitality rooms to begin with. So please just fill that out if you think you're going to come by. I think we're going to kind of have like an impromptu, Q&A with podcasters, and then it's just networking. And so like, if you want to ask us questions, if you've listened to us for however long, some of those podcasts have gone for years. So, again, you've probably heard the voices, maybe you haven't seen the faces, maybe you haven't actually talked to the people, but come by, have fun. It's all for good stuff. And it'll be a good time Sunday night, December 17th at NADC.
Yeah, like I said, so there again, as well as the middle school AD podcast, there'll be about 3 or 4 other podcasts there as well. And we obviously encourage you to listen to those because they're different spins on the AD life, and you can learn something from everything. If you want a good laugh, listen to Paradox. Myself and Scott have been on there. That's a fun one. So. But there will be information that comes out. Like I said, if you follow myself on Twitter or LinkedIn, I'll be sending stuff out. I know myself with the middle school AD, Scott with the AD podcast, and then Jake with the educational AD. We're very heavily posting in the 4 Facebook forums. So whenever you see those start coming through with the link as well, you can click on any of them. It doesn't have to be my post. It could be Scott's post. It'll all get you to the same direction. If you miss those for whatever reason, Scott, they can stop by the Vital Signs booth on Sunday as well, to get registered.
Yeah, we'll have a QR code for it. So just swing by the booth if you're already coming to see about Wall of Fame projects, or even if you're not, just swing by and just tell them that you want to have the details for the event that night, and we're happy to give it to the room number and everything for you.
And please let John know that you have heard this and you are visiting because of the Middle School Athletic Director podcast. That'll actually, that'll help us out, and and it'll actually help out our title sponsor who allows us to do this for a second season. So please stop by, and even like I said, even if you already have the link and you are registered, please stop by and see Vital Signs and John, and thank him for all what they do for the podcast world, and see what their boards are all about. And then, come by and see us that night. I know we'll have a good bit of the middle school AD podcast guest, the ones, people that you have heard, this season and last season, a good bit of them are stopping by. So even if you want to pick their brains and you've heard enough of me talk, you can still stop by and pick their brains as well. And put like I said, put a face with a name and with a voice. So be looking out for that. We'll get that out, probably like I said, the week of, or maybe even, the week before, whenever we get that link set for the registration, but we'll get that out on social media. So if you're listening to this, obviously you've seen something, so please go in and register for that event. We'd love to see you. So Scott, moving into the Google apps, right? Again, we said Google Sites was number one, right? I mean, everybody can use Google Sites for many different reasons. Particularly like you spoke about at the middle school level, you're not going to have really all the time. You're not going to have a designated website for a middle school athletic department, but a Google site is very easy to create to send your parents to, your stakeholders and things like that. Our number two was Google Forms. As we all know, I live and die by Google Forms. And everything that I do is Google Forms. I think that was probably the one we spoke about the most back in episode 23. So if you want a paperless office, Google Forms is really kind of the way to go. And then our number three was Google Keep, which is basically the checklist part of Google. So again, go back to episode 23, look at those. But now we're going to move on to 4, 5, and 6. So Scott, what you got for number 4?
Yeah, let's talk Google Slides. I think Google Slides is another one that obviously comes up when you hit the waffle up in the top right of all the things in Google that you can do. I think that's always in the top there. Google Slides is, I call it the Swiss Army knife. You can change in the settings. If you go like up to the top of it, hit file and go down, you can change the settings of what is it. A lot of people get caught that Slides is just what it is. It's a slide deck. You make presentations on it. 100%. At the middle school level, you can make really good parent night presentations. You can make, coaches presentation, coaching, education night, presentation, whatever. But you can change what it is, where you can change the dimensions of it. If you want to make flyers, if you're not, maybe you don't use Canva and you don't, aren't able to, have again, whole nother topic here, but Canva, again, if you're an educator, you get Pro for free. So, which you could do that, but in Slides, you can change the dimensions of things. And so you can either make it into pixels, you can make it into, inches and do a 5x7 and 11x8.5. You can change it to be whatever you need it to be. And so it's just Slides is an easy one, where you can make it whatever you need, in terms of creativity of whatever material you need to make.
Yeah, and I can echo that as, but before I got with another one of our sponsors, Box Out, and started using them, I created all my graphics in Slides. Because it was flyers or different things like that I wanted to send out. I would even create a door label, per se, for the away teams and for the home team locker rooms. Yep. So I just go in there and I would put, home team locker room with our logo and then put that on the locker room door. And then I'd go and I'd get the logo of the opposing team and I put visitor team locker room, put that logo on there, print it out, laminate it, put it on the locker room door. So again, when the schools got there, they weren't especially if they never come to our facility before, they weren't confused on where they were supposed to go. And so, we kind of made it like that. But like I said, it was just a simple, as you said, a flyer or a poster. that I was able to create within Google Slides. I know you've actually used Google Slides to create, a handbook for sort, and because you can save it as a PDF too, and kind of print it out and do things like that.
Our brand guide, we made it as a Google slide and then saved it as a PDF. Our brand guide for one of my school districts. Again, yeah, and that's a whole nother thing, right? You can just save it direct as a PDF, like whatever you did. You can just, Google's been pretty savvy on the creativity side of things, where your Microsoft products are more obviously geared towards data and enterprise stuff in the corporate space. So Google's just very more free in their creativity aspect.
Yeah, like I said, don't get bogged down that it's the Google's version of PowerPoint, right? That it's just a presentation software. You can do so much more. When what I've done before too. Again, a lot of middle schools aren't blessed with a jumbotron or any type of screen or thing like that. So we had old TVs in the building that weren't being used, and we threw a TV on a stand, took a computer, put an HDMI to it, and I was able to run a digital program, if you want to say, for the basketball games, for the volleyball games, with just a Google slide.
Well, you had videos in those too, right? You had embedded videos on some of those. Yeah.
Yes. So I embedded videos on the starters and things like that. And a hype video for those different sports, but I also used it too with my sponsors. So I was able to get sponsors. So I was able to roll that during timeouts, during pre-games and things like that. So again, gave it that big high school look that is definitely the big D1 college look, because they got those sponsors rolling like that as well. And my creed, my athletic creed, so my sportsmanship talk was actually me sitting at a table looking, so it was recorded of me. So I was actually on the screen talking to them, other than just hearing somebody on the microphone. So yeah, again, I used it as a game day enhancement, if you want to say. So anything else? Again, I know Google Slides, there's a lot you can do. It's pretty straightforward on what you can do. But it like I said, we definitely think it needs to be number 4, right behind those other 3, because there is so much you can do with it. And again, it's free. You just got to take a little bit of time to mess around with it.
And on that note, before we move on to 5, I would just say, if you have questions on it, or you're like, I don't know all it can do, YouTube is an infinite space of everyone that has found hacks within every Google anything, right? So, if you're trying to figure out slides and you're like, I think it can do this, just you literally go to YouTube and type in Google Slides and then whatever, how to make blah, blah, blah in Google Slides. Guaranteed there's videos all over the show of everyone showing how to do it. So you can do that for any Google application. There's plenty of resources there for you to, troubleshoot or figure out ways to use it that maybe you wouldn't have thought of using it.
Yep. After you come to 613 and we run out of time, then go to YouTube.
In 613, we will show you a whole bunch of ways to use each of these products that you're like, oh, I had no idea that's how that went.
Yeah. So, all right. So again, that's another good one. What's your number 5?
Yeah, in the middle school space, I would say Sheets, Google Sheets. Again, that's obviously Microsoft or Google's side of Microsoft Excel. I think again, you can get caught up that most of the time, the most prototypical one would be like a budget. Balancing a budget on there. I know most middle schools don't have the most robust, deep budget of like what a high school athletic department might have, but obviously you can use that for that purpose. You could use it easily for like uniform rotation schedules. You could use it for if you have any type of ticket taking and maybe you're not digital, you can, again, it's balancing sheets at the end of the day, or just program data. I used it all the time for, at the high school level, but you can do it for the middle school level. And I think it's pretty big, but like data-driven decisions these days in schools is huge. And so when you're looking at data, like you can have you can use Google Sheets for the purpose of, participation numbers and how many kids were ejected, how, if you do grade checks, right, and do it across sport. and you can literally see how your programs are doing in terms of numbers year over year, in terms of, how many kids are on academic probation or suspension because of academics, and then do that every time and update your data. And then you can literally have like a score sheet at the end that populates. I'm getting into the weeds, but I'm just saying, like, that is something. And then you can easily show a principal or somebody else in the district, like, hey, our middle school's been doing this, and you have fact for it. Or, you can get into Title IX. Title IX, you can have a robust Title IX survey, not survey, but the Title IX data that you have to have for every program. I built mine in Google Sheets because that's the easiest way for it to calculate numbers for me if I'm above or below the line on offerings. But that same data can be used for a Title IX audit if you're doing that, for in terms of, maybe you don't offer something at the middle school level for boys and girls, but the numbers have been going up on one and you've seen the need. Well, now you have the data to back it up, and maybe it's over a 3-year span, year over year. So just some thoughts on that.
Yeah, an athletic report card. I think I mentioned it last episode with Lindsay. We were talking about different things. If you can show numbers, especially if you're going to the principal or if you're going to the superintendent asking for money, if you can show numbers, reason why you need that money, or need that support, or need an assistant AD, or need whatever the need is. If you have that data to show it. I've also used it as even on the coaching side of it, I've used it as a preseason attendance checklist or attendance list, right? So I had all the lists of the, at the time it was girls basketball. I had a list of all the girls that had signed up, and every time they came, I would just go put an X next to their name in a different column. So then at the end of the year, the reason why I did it, again, preseason and out of season wasn't mandatory, but the reason why I did it is because I wanted to give them some type of reward for being there. So I always let, again, Google Sheets will get your percentage for you. So I would always, whoever had the highest percentage of off-season practices got to pick their jersey first. Because jersey numbers are everything, especially to a middle schooler, right? So, especially, in basketball, everybody wants 23. Everybody wants, if 32 for the bigger guys or whatever, or one, and right, everybody else wants one. So that was my incentive, is if you come to all these things, I don't care, for middle school, I don't care if you're an 8th grader, 7th grader, if you do let 6th graders play, I don't care which age group you are. I don't care if you were the stud last year and was all region and all county and all of this stuff. If you didn't come to any preseason stuff, somebody else is picking, and they're probably going to pick your jersey for you because they get rewarded for coming to all the off season. So again, I use it as that. I've also used it as game coverage sign up. So I would put my schedule in there, and I would send it out to the admin. And then we'd also send it out to the staff, because my admin was gracious enough. They allowed the staff to, if they worked games that went, was like an hour that went towards their exchange days. So in Greenville County, we have exchange days. So, every 2 or 3 days, or 2 or 3 times a year. And you've got to build up hours to get that day off. So, if you worked a basketball game, that counted as an hour. You didn't have to go sit in a PD. So that was nice. So again, those
well
went
played.
quick. Yeah,
that
those went
well
quick.
Played.
So again, when I would send that out to the staff, I would have a column for an admin. So, the principal or the assistant principal, whoever would put their name in for the admin side of it. And then that we would have the ticket. Basically, they were ticket takers. So it was what the teachers did. So they would put their names in it. And so it was easily, I was able to keep up with it very easy, but it was also when somebody went into that spreadsheet, they saw that game was already taken, right? Because again, it's a live document. If you tried to do it through like a Google form or something like that, where they're just inputting and selecting a date, then you could have 10 people select the same date, because they don't see the results. So again, I always put it in a sheet so people could see it and it'd be live that way. So again, a lot more stuff that you can do with sheets, just like slides, other than just putting in data, as like Excel and sheets kind of, or the original purpose of it.
Yeah. And the last one, and just like rudimental with it too, would be like, you can also, if you don't have a website and you need to, like, it's so easy to make all your schedules in sheets for all and track it, where each tab's a different sport. And then like you have a master tab, and in that you can do transportation, you can do whatever and share it. Just have one master thing going on with each program. And then you can literally share that with your head coaches in view only, and they can see the schedule. They can see the transportation that you change, share it with transportation departments so they know, whatever, or you can just take line items out of it. But because you can filter the data, you can filter it by date and send it off to transportation separately. Again, supervision, you can show who signed up for supervision on each game, and it's all your scheduling. Again, you can get into the weeds on it, but that would be another basic thing you can use, because then you can also post that somewhere for people to find your schedules. And as you update it, it updates there live. So it's just easy if you're obviously not paying money for any type of website or have a website or something along those lines.
Yeah. And Google Sheets goes back to, really works hand in hand with our number 1 and number 2 with Google Sites and Forms. Google Sites, you can actually embed a Google Sheet onto the page. So if you want it as a schedule, or, with our state association, we have a Google Sheet embedded in one of the pages on our Director's Cup. So whenever we update the points, then everybody can see those results live and where their schools stand and things like that. Same thing, like you said, if something changes on the schedule wise, if you've embedded that onto your website, on your Google site, then it changes live and people can see it. Google Form, once you collect all the data, it's just a simple button up on the top right that says, export to Google, or to Sheets. You hit that, and all the data comes into a Google Sheet. And so then you can arrange it, just like you would normally. You can arrange it by names, you can arrange it by dates, you can arrange it by different things. So Google Sheets works hand in hand with Google Sites and Google Form. Okay. Go ahead.
I have nothing else to add to that.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. But it just again takes a little bit of time. And just like Scott said with the Google Slides, if you don't know the correct formulas, then there's a YouTube video for that. So
yes. Oh, and you'll get lost in the Google Sheets formulas. Holy moly. Definitely YouTube it, because there's so many shortcuts from your keyboard that you just don't know exist.
Yeah.
And more than copy and paste.
And if you aren't able to come to, I'll go ahead and say that if you're aren't able to come to Orlando and get all these things in 613, hit myself or Scott up, and we will definitely help you out. Hit us up on Twitter or LinkedIn. We'll definitely help you out with maybe one of the Google Sheets or things that we've created to kind of help you on your way. So definitely do that if you aren't able to attend a 613 class. So 4, 5, and then the last one in our top 6. There's a lot out there. So which one are you squeezing in there?
Yeah. We already talked on Google Sites. This one I think would be along the lines of what you could do for coaches, or like a leadership council, but Google Classroom. A lot of times you can get stuck in the thought that, like, it says classroom, so obviously I'm only going to use this in the academic side of the school system. I think you and I were talking before we started recording. A lot of times you see it used for your coaches, where instead of having a Google site, the Google Classroom is a little bit more involved, because you can comment and there's conversation, but it's closed, right? It's a closed environment. So whoever you're inviting in allows it to be a communication tool that's really easy to use. And so, like, you can post, whatever in there, and your coaches can just easily get, you can, post a document in there that's easily downloaded for the coach or whatever. And you can kind of use it that way. I've also seen it used for like leadership councils at schools, where whether it's an AD or someone else leading it, you would have your leader, your captain's council is in a Google Classroom, and you post the assignments and you post, whatever's going on, and have them, have the kids interact. Same idea. It's just an easier way. And if you're already a Google school, which if you're listening to these episodes, I'm assuming you are, or maybe you're switching to it, or you want to do it yourself in Google, because you're a Microsoft, unfortunately, school district, and you can just make the Google Classroom, and it's just easy to put people in it, and put out information that's in a closed environment, and then have people interact within it, especially if it's your coaching cohorts. And you can go back and there's histories in there and all that stuff that you can go back and see what's going on. If you're a new coach, maybe you go through it and there's a lot of good stuff in there. And I mean, again, you could get into the weeds pretty easily on, if you're a new coach, here's like, new coaches school or whatever. And there's all these different resources in there, and, who's your mentor coach or whatever, something like that line.
Yeah. And that goes back, I should have mentioned at the beginning of this episode too, if you are a Microsoft school, or you don't want to use your personal email, if you're a Gmail school or a Google school, I always create a free Gmail account for my athletic department. So ours is Rudolph Gordon Athletics at Gmail. So it's, again, that's free. And as soon as I click, create for that Gmail, then I'm open. I have access to all of these apps. So even if you are a Microsoft school, if you create a Gmail for your athletic department, then you will still be open to all of these accounts and things to be able to get done. But yeah, the AD I currently work with, she does a Google Classroom per teams. So each team has a Google Classroom. So then the parents are on there, the athletes are on there, and she puts all the information, the announcements on there. She kind of uses it like a sports U or a band, type of communication, because you can do a little more, right, than you can in those two platforms. So again, it's a great communication tool, like I said, where you can just dump it. You can have one just for your coaches and have all their information, and the assignments per se could be what certifications are due. So if that coach is, CPR is due, or they got NFHS classes that are due, that would be under their assignments, and you could put a due date on it, right? And so then you'd actually be get notified, and the coach would get notified if they're past due and things like that. So again, you can run it like a classroom per se, but it's a lot of different, just dumping information, and just like we said with Google Sites, just a place for people to go to find all this information. But it'd be a little more, like I said, private than putting it out there on a website.
Yeah, again, all 6 of these, I mean, sure, we went 1 through 6. It's whatever one's the most beneficial for you is where you would rank it. I would just say we just named off 6 for you. I don't know if that's any particular order. I think those were the 6 that I used the most, that I still use the most. So I would just say, find the ones that you need. You can get well into the weeds on any of those applications, but they do help you. I think that's the goal. You might have to put, like, don't get me wrong, if you come to 613, there's some resources that we give you that those took us hours, if not, days combined to create. And so, like, we're more than happy to share that with you. But like, if you're coming up with something new that hasn't been invented, or someone has it, like, it's going to take you time, but it saves you time on the back end once you get it the way you need it. And that's like building any type of system, right? Like, you're going to build a system, and then you're going to go through some iterations of, well, that didn't work, and that did, and I need to keep that, and I need this to be more streamlined, but it'll save you time. So just don't get discouraged when you're like, I'm going to build a budget sheet for every, or the scorecard, right? The record, whatever you're looking at in sheets, like, that's going to take time. Like, that's just going to take you time to build it. And so when you find that time, just don't get discouraged when it takes time multiple times to do it, for multiple projects that you're like, oh, I can do that with this, or I have never thought of that. So,
well, that's when I created all mine was, I hate to say it, but it was during summer break. When I'm sitting at home and thinking about all these things, and I've got, a couple of hours to kill, or like I said, maybe I work on it for 30 minutes on Monday, 30 minutes on Tuesday. That way it's up and ready to go. Or winter break, right? We're coming up on winter break. If there's something that you can do during that as well, to get ready. But like you said, it could be in any order. I mean, I think my top 3 would be the same as Scott's, but I think I would put Google Forms as number 1. Just because I use Google Forms every day. I use it for everything. And then I would go into sites and things like that. So again, it's, these 6 could go either way that you need it, but we definitely think these are the top 6. Again, there's a lot more out there that you could use. I mean, the other big one would be Google Docs. but it is what it is. I mean, it's a Word document. That's one of the ones
that's funny. We didn't even like that. Even out of the 6, when you told me to do 6, docs didn't even come into my mind space for that.
Yeah, that one's one of the ones that it is what it is, right? It's a writing tool. You can do a couple things in there, but
they've
if you're
made
trying
some really cool integrations in it, actually, like when you do @ or you can insert it. Actually is really cool if your meeting minutes now are like way more engaging when you do it on Google Docs. But yeah, we didn't talk about docs.
So but no, that all that's good stuff. So we're going to kind of jump into the last little section, talk about NADC for those that are coming down. Maybe it's your first time, but we're going to kind of discuss what a middle school AD kind of needs to look for when they come down to the national conference down in Orlando. But before we do that, we do want to thank our title sponsor, Wall of Fame. Again, we talked about them a good bit about the Meet the Podcaster, but the reason why we're able to do this is season 2 is because of them. So please stop by their booth, see what they're about, say hello, tell them thank you. And even if you're not down there, shoot them a quick email and thank them for what they do and get their information as well, and see how they can, as Scott's screen says, bring your school's legacy to life. So again, another great tool that you don't have to be a high school or college AD to do. You could do it at the middle school as well. So Scott, moving into the last little section, normally it's what are you doing to get better? And I guess this is kind of go into that, but we already found out what you do, would you get better a couple episodes again. But we're in the I guess a week out when this episode airs. We're a week out of the national conference. There's a middle school AD going. Maybe it's their first time, maybe it's second or third time, but you've been to a couple, I've been to a good bit as well. Kind of what do you think maybe that main focus of the middle school AD is when they get to the national conference, because there's a lot going on?
First, hit up the registration booth real quick. Get signed in, get all the, you get a goodie bag that has the conference schedule in it. The schedule's posted on massive pillars around, or just standalones a lot of times. Make sure you look at that. But the one thing that I would say, if you're like first time and you're a middle school AD, go to there's a first time attendees orientation. They kind of give you the layout of the weekend and let you know like things that you should be aware of. The conference gift is always a very popular item. When the vendor hall is open, again, vendors have a lot of free giveaways. Again, a lot of the vendors do hospitality nights, or a lot of the AD state associations do a lot of hospitality nights. So like knowing when those are at and whatnot, but like go to that session. It's worth your time because it'll give you an orientation. I would also say like, look, there's a ton of workshops. You might not have signed up for LTCs. Unfortunate, because 614 and 613 are probably two of the best ones you could be a part of with Freddie and I. But again, I know Jake Von Shear's there, and they're doing 700 and 701, which would be the middle school based LTCs. So those two would be the ones, if you're going to spend money, I would probably spend money on those. Or if you want to have fun, get into the 500 series, and all the crap that can happen to you as an AD legally gets thrown at you. So that's always fun in those ones. But if you're not doing those, there's a whole litany of workshops. Look at each one of those, and I would just say look for the ones that, even if it sounds interesting to you, actually really sit there and be like, would this be something that I would have to deal with or do? Because there's so many options. I mean, what is there, 5 or 6 workshops per period?
I think it's like 9 or 10. I mean, it's a lot to choose from.
And you're going to one, most likely. Like very often do you go in the room and then swap to another one? Because you're
five different times, and there's like 9 or 10 to choose from on each one of those times. So,
maybe come with idea. You can look at the schedule ahead of time. So first off, go to the NIAAA's website, click on the conference tab, and then go to the schedule and look at all the offerings on there. I think when you register for the conference too, it'll ask you like if do you know which ones you're going to, because that's attendance purposes. But you should look at those things. And I always was like trying to think of like, what am I struggling with? And see if I could find those first and then circle those, because that's what I'm going to go sit in. And then if I have openings, And then find the ones that sound interesting to you. That way you're maximizing your time, because you're going to get lost if you don't go there with a plan, because first off, there's thousands of people. Second, you probably actually know more people than you think. And so then you're going to start talking and networking and having fun and get lost in the fact that, like, oh crap, session 2's happening or whatever. And then the one that I always enjoyed, and it depends on if you're staying the whole time, because I think it usually happens the last day. But the sports law and review, it used to be Dr. Green, but I'm not sure. They changed last year. Not fully sure on that one, but it's an hour of like, holy moly, I can't believe that happened. And then you're like, crap, I don't chain my soccer goals to the fence either. And you're like, lawsuit time, baby. And so again, the 500 LTCs take you through the legal aspects of being an athletic administrator, but that it's an hour. I think last year was an hour and a half, maybe, but that sports law and review segment is always there. I would highly encourage you to go that, as well as go to the speaking sessions. This year, they're bringing in John Gordon. He's a solid one if you haven't read any of his books, but I've seen him do it live before. He just packs a punch, and it really gives you, he's very inspirational. So you leave there, if you need an uplifting thing, he just go sit through his opening session, because that will 100% give you a little kick in the hiney of just maybe you need a little positivity. Because again, the trench can get negative on that island as a silo as an AD. So those are kind of my off the cuff, without even thinking about that question, Freddie, comments for the NADC.
Yeah, I would say 80% of the stuff that I do, I got from one of those workshops over the years.
Oh, amen.
And as long as if you go the weekend and you pull out one or two things from the conference, then it's a success. Because again, you're going to get a lot of information, and you may write down like 20 things that you'd be like, hey, we need to do this. But if you go back in January 1 and try to implement all 20 of them, it's not going to be good. So, that it's one of those is, all right, here's maybe my top 20 things I found, like all these things are great. Then what I would do after the conference is rank them. Like just like we're doing with these Google apps is rank. All right, I heard this one, so I want to really focus on this one. And then maybe these 2 or 3 this year, and then we'll look into adding these other ones next school year. But yeah, I would definitely just go to as many as you can. And like you mentioned, that the state hospitality rooms, usually a lot of those happen on Monday night. I think a lot of states do it, but it's usually, like I said, we've got one on Sunday, but Sunday and Monday is usually when all the hospitality rooms go on. Find somebody from your state, reach out. If you don't know anybody, reach out to your state association, find an email and just say, hey, when are y'all meeting? When are y'all doing a hospitality? And just network. I mean, that would be my biggest thing, is network. Make sure you go to your section meeting. Because then, if you don't know a lot of people from your state, because maybe you're new, if you go to your section meeting, all your state ADs are going to sit together. And then that's when you can find out if something's happening, either Sunday, because I think section meetings are on Sunday. If something's happening Sunday night or Monday night with your state ADs. And so that would be my biggest thing, is just network, shake hands, kiss babies, do whatever you do. Sit in the words of my mentor, Daryl Nance, sit at a table that you don't know people.
Yeah.
Sit at a different table. If you're there and it's lunchtime and you're sitting there, around all the different areas to eat, or maybe it's just a bench because you're tired and you want to sit down. If you see people that you know, but then you see a couple of other people that you don't know, don't be afraid to go over there and ask them, hey, can I join you? Again, I did that my first year. I sat down with a gentleman, and I didn't realize I was sitting down with Doug Kilgore. And so if you don't know who
Doug
to
sit down with,
that's right. If you don't know the bow tie AD, as soon as you come to one of the national conferences, you will know it. But again, I just that conversation was very beneficial to me as a first year AD. Because getting to pick his brain on things like that. So just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's not like going to a coaches conference where everybody keeps their secrets to themselves. This is probably the 1, 4 or 5 days, depending on how long you stay, that no matter really who you ask, they're going to tell you something. And they're going to help you out in some way. So make sure you hit those workshops and you do as much networking as possible. If you don't know your section, and because basically the U.S. is divided into 8 sections. If you don't know your sections, I think that's listed on one of those big standalones as well. So just go find your section and find your state, and then you'll kind of know what section you are. So
and any of those events that you go to, whether it's the workshops or whatnot, grab most of the presenters almost always bring business cards. Grab them. Just take the card. It'll be the easiest way for you to, or it's just if you sit at a table, everyone typically brings business cards. Definitely ask for those if you sat with people that you're like, oh, I need to pick their brain about it. Because I'd usually go home with a ton of, different ADs cards and be like, oh man, he said that he had this, or she said that, she was doing this with digital ticketing. And I'm like, I need to be better at that. So like, I'm going to just give her a call.
Yeah. Or if you don't carry business cards, one of the apps we talk about in 614 is Link. It's a bracelet. Or you can do it. You can do a digital business card. Mine's a bracelet that has a QR code on it. And so actually I don't carry business cards. I wear the bracelet. If somebody wants my information, they scan the QR code. It goes directly into their phone. So again, you can look them up. I mean, if you order now, you could possibly get it by then. But that's LINQ. So again, just another little nugget that you'll get from 614 as well. So we hope to see you down there. Like I said, this episode will go out on December 8th. I would say, on December 11th, be looking for another NADC bonus episode to kind of help you a little more too as you prepare the week ahead. So be looking for that a couple days after this one goes out. But other than that, Scott, thanks for coming on with us again. And please again check Scott out on all the social media accounts. Look us both up on the AD podcast. That's adpodcast.com. And a lot of great topics there as well. Again, we just talked about track, right? So that, and how track goes in with your athletic department and all that. So, great stuff there. But again, Scott, thanks for jumping on.
Always my pleasure, Freddie.
All right. So again, till next time, we hope to see you Sunday night. Come by and see us. Stop by and see Scott at the Vital Signs Wall of Fame booth. Stop by on Sunday. See me at the Box Out booth. I'll be around doing other stuff as well, teaching and taking classes and doing workshops. So I'll be floating around as well from there. But stop by and see us Sunday night, and we look forward to seeing you. But until then, I hope you enjoy the episode and go be better today.
At the Wall of Fame, our mission is to bring your school's legacy to life. We transform school tributes to make it easier than ever to celebrate your whole community, showcasing your school's diverse history, proudest moments, and top role models. We understand that the true value of our Wall of Fame is in your content. Whether you are starting a new tribute or adding to an existing one, we give you all the resources you need to build an interactive experience and take your content to the next level. For more information about the Wall of Fame and a 5% discount, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com/Freddie.